So why I think it's really important that we distinguish the difference between a vulva and vagina on a purely biological anatomy. Hello lovelies and welcome back to my channel. I was going to say that this week's video is a little bit different, but I don't think it is because once again I'm talking about vaginas. But not just vaginas, I'm also going to be talking about vulvas. And if you don't know what vulvas are, you've come to the right place because you're about to find out. So I hope you find this video educational. I also hope you enjoy this video. If you do enjoy it, don't forget to give it a little thumbs up, click the subscribe button, also click the little notification bell next to it to get a notification every time I post a new video, and leave me a comment. Before I get into it, I just want to let you know that I have drawn a diagram of a vulva. It's not great, but it is a diagram of a vulva. So if you're watching this maybe somewhere public or somewhere you don't want people to know you're watching this, just to let you know that technically maybe class is not safe for work. So here it is, my really bad diagram of a vulva. If you have one, I guess you know what they look like. If you don't, grab a mirror, have a look. But to give you a better idea, I have this lovely pin that I bought on Etsy. So that's more of what a vulva can look like. That little arrow points to the clit and says it's here. I will link down below to this pin if anyone wants to buy one. So I'm going to be talking about what this is and why it's different to a vagina. So very simply, I'm just going to explain the various parts, and then I think that'll really clear up the vulva versus vagina thing very, very quickly. So these two outer lines here, which are just so artistic, they are the labia majora. You might otherwise know them as the flaps, but that's what they are. The two bits more inward, the two lines inward from there, are the labia minora, so they're smaller versions of the labia majora. This here with the little dot at the top that kind of runs down in the labia minora is the clitoris. This dot up here is the urethral opening, which is where the urine leaves. This here is the vaginal opening, which is where periods come from, where you can penetrate and where babies exit when being born. And this line down here is the anus. This up here is pubic hair, but it's very curly and lovely. But also where pubic hair sits is called the mons pubis. That was just a quick run through of the various parts of the vulva, and this as a whole, this outside bit where the labia are, where the clitoris is, where the mons pubis is, that is what the vulva is. So when you talk about your genitals, that is technically what you're talking about. You're talking about that outside bit. The vagina only describes one part of the vulva, and that is this hole here where penetration happens, where periods happen, and where babies happen. The vagina connects the cervix and the vaginal canal, so that's how babies are born through there. It's definitely not that plain sailing, but they are obviously then inherently different. They are two different parts of the body and are not interchangeable. So why is it important to tell the difference between a vulva and a vagina? On a purely biological, literal body part level, they are different parts of the body. It will be like calling your, maybe not your thumb, your finger, because that is a debate that I'm not willing to get into, but it's arguably like calling your hand your elbow. They are different parts of the body. They are not the same thing. And on a basic scientific level, it's important to understand your body and to know the various parts of it and to know that they are different. Because when it comes to, like, I guess doctor's visits or anything, even just knowing your own body, it's important to be able to distinguish between your different body parts. Another reason why it's really important to discuss the difference between a vulva and vagina is because when we only talk about vaginas, we erase the part of a woman's body where she generally gains most pleasure. So while some women can orgasm from penetration alone, the majority of women need clitoral stimulation. The clitoris is on the outside of the vagina in the vulva. So the clitoris is actually a lot bigger. It kind of runs like this, and most women need clitoral stimulation to achieve orgasm. When we only talk about vaginas, we focus on the part where penetration happens, usually typically when regarding heterosexual sex, and we ignore the part of the body that provides women with the most pleasure. It's important to talk about that because these are our bodies and they are not just for other people's pleasure, they are for our own. So we need to know how they work, what's in there. And again, another reason why I think it's important to discuss that the clitoris is here in the vulva, where the majority of women find pleasure, is because there are still women out there who don't know where the clitoris is. There are men out there who don't know where the clitoris is. And it's really important because it's got like, I think it's like 2,000 nerve endings, if not more. That is amazing. It is the coolest little piece of anatomy, I think, ever. So it's really, really important that we know that that's there and that we distinguish that women's pleasure happens here and that's not a bad or dirty or wrong thing. I think we need to talk about vulvas versus vaginas again, because vulvas are not treated the same way as penises. And what I mean by saying that is I mean kind of gag-wise. If you go into like a joke shop, or like if you just go into a shop that sells maybe hen night and stag night stuff, you will see inflatable penises, penis straws, etc. And usually the equivalent to that is a pair of breasts, inflatable breasts, a singular squishy boob, something like that. That is putting penises and breasts on the same level. Penises and breasts are nowhere near the same level. To be very basic, breasts are to breastfeed, to give milk to babies. Penises are to urinate and to create babies and have sexual pleasure. They're not the same thing. And to kind of equate the idea of someone whipping their penis out to a woman whipping her boob out is not the same thing. And we would never walk into a store and see like a squishy vulva, because most people don't really talk about vulvas. They don't really know what's going on down there. A lot of people haven't looked at their vulvas. They don't really know the way around it. And that's something that needs to change. There's definitely a taboo around it. We see penises as kind of a funny gag thing. We don't really mind them. We see graffiti of them, we go, ah, it's just a penis. But if we saw a vulva, oh my god. Imagine you walk into Deals, which is Poundland in the UK, and they sell their inflatable dicks and inflatable and willy straws and whatever. Imagine you walked in and there was like a vulva straw. Because I don't think that would be received as well as willy straws, which is wild. But despite the fact that the vulva and the penis are the equivalent of each other, they're both genitalia, they're not considered the same. And that needs to change, because we need to be able to discuss them. We need to understand them. It's on a very basic level just for biology. In school, when you're learning about reproduction, you learn about the whole part of the penis. But when you're learning about women, you just learn about the inside bit, usually. I did anyway. You learn about the womb, the ovaries, etc. And while that is very important, because again, we still need to know what's going on in there, we need to learn about the outside bit too, because it is just gravely important to understand our own bodies. It's also important to note that not every vulva looks the same. This is something that I've had conversations with friends about. It's stuff I've seen people talk about on the internet. None are the same, because just like us, our vulvas are all different, and it's the same with penises. They all look different because every person is different. So some labia might point out a little bit more, some labia might be tucked in a little bit more. Overwhelmingly, usually the labia you see in porn, I think, is the one that is a little bit more tucked in, and people have grown to think, oh my god, my vulva isn't normal because mine is actually more of an outie vulva. Kind of a bit like innie outie belly buttons. But that's totally normal. There's nothing wrong with how your vulva looks. One of the scariest things I've ever heard is that there are actually women who think their vulvas are so ugly they've gotten plastic surgery on them. And that again is a societal thing, because we aren't seeing them and we aren't normalizing them. People think they're wrong and they think they need to change. But every single vulva is different, and there is nothing wrong with your vulva. Just know that there's nothing wrong. It's gorgeous. Love it, because it's a very important part of you, and it will be for your whole life. And it's important to grab a mirror occasionally and have a look around, because you need to know your body, and it's not as blatant as a penis. It's not sitting right there. It is a little bit more tucked away. So it's important to explore and to understand yourself. But your vulvas are beautiful, no matter what they look like. I wouldn't mind, but I've just been talking about how there's the difference between vulvas and vaginas. I looked behind at my notes that I have on my board, and I have every vag is different. that should say vulva. And do it myself. I still do it. It's a process. We need to train ourselves into talking about them differently because they are different things and they shouldn't be regarded as the same. I know I'm like a broken record here, but I'm really trying to drill that point in because the whole point of this is to be educational and to let people know that there is a difference. I hope you found this useful in some way. If you didn't know what a vulva was before you came here, I'm happy that you do now, even if my drawing was really bad. There's better diagrams on the internet, like if you bang it into Google, you'll get a lovely diagram of a vulva that will be far more detailed. The pin I showed you guys is much more beautiful than my drawing. But I do hope you learned something. I hope it's maybe even sparked you to go research a little bit about vulvas versus vaginas, maybe explore yourself a little bit more, because that's what this is all about. It's a learning process, and I hope that's what happened here today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a little thumbs up, click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell to get a notification every time I post a new video. Also, leave me some comments. Did you just learn now that vulvas and vaginas are different? Did you learn in school? What was your experience in school learning about them? Did you just learn about the inside anatomy, or did you learn about the outside too? I would love to hear your various stories. Once again, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!